Hello everybody, Herald here again. I'm going to do things a little differently with this review. Typically, obviously, I just do a single book. In this case, I'm going to do 3 because the God Eater Saga is done a little bit differently by the author. It is a trilogy of trilogies in a single world. Phase 1 is book 1 of each trilogy. He is working on Phase 2, which is the second book of each trilogy. The main series is The Age of the God Eater. Here's Herald, the special version. Only the main is going to have these dust jackets as opposed to just the standard case laminate, which is underneath the dust jacket. The paperbacks have this design on all styles. If you watch my unboxing video, you'll see the paperbacks and the case laminate under here. As far as Age of the God Eater, or in this case Herald, the first book in the series, this is our quote-unquote modern day for this world. The Annals of the God Eater is roughly 1,000 years before the events of the main story. This is kind of an expanded backstory. And then Archive of the God Eater is 3,000 years prior to the main story, which is even more of a backstory. Which seems a little convoluted, except it's not. I'll try to be as spoiler-free as possible. I usually do. As far as Herald goes, this story is our main character is going off with an angel, and the idea is there is someone who's going to herald in the new age. The way this world is set up is there are multiple ages. The first age heralded in by an angel, which is where we're getting into with this series, and I'll get more details in a minute, is, at least according to the lore our characters have been told, is angels have come in, joined up with humanity, and started fighting and defeating demons. Then there was and I don't remember the exact name, I'll say an Age of Enlightenment, where angels and mankind are working together to create beautiful art, cities. And we are at this book in the 4th age, which was supposed to be an age of exploration, but instead, the grandfather of the king in the main series had a war on heaven. So this book, the prologue, literally starts off with our royal family hunting and killing an angel. And that's where some of this comes into play as far as the title, the God Eater Saga. Because they are literally eating divine creatures, including the God himself. Now obviously this isn't the Christian God. This is a fictional world, multiple moons, I believe 3 different moons. Monsters, angels, demons, that kind of stuff. At the time of this book, there are roughly 10 or fewer living angels. God has been, the God, which is the way it's worded in the book, has been killed. Angel blood can extend your life. They use angel feathers for their arrows to make them fly further and truer. Essentially, every bit of these divine creatures' bodies are used in some fashion. I won't go into details because a lot of that will come up in the book, and I figure you'll enjoy learning that organically. Obviously, I guess not obviously, sorry. there's going to be conflict. So our main character is involved with an angel, and the idea is to herald in the fifth age, which will involve or be the reason for the rebirth of the god. Our king, King Emmerich, does not want that to happen. And what I enjoy about that is King Emmerich isn't just, well, I want to be king, I'm going to stop you. It's, he honestly believes that he is doing what is right for his people. The lore of this series is that back in this time, 3,000 years ago, angels and an ancestor of Emmerich Hostain, the king, banded together. Humanity came together. They fought back the demons. And the god and his angels have been helping mankind ever since. But around the time of the Annals of the God Eater series, the Hostain family learned, or believe they've learned, that that's a lie. They believe that everything that the angels and the God have told them is a lie, and that everything that's been told to them by the divine creatures has been to enslave mankind. So by destroying these angels, by destroying God, they're saving mankind. Now, as far as the individual trilogies, you can read them in any order. You don't necessarily have to read one versus the other. If you are going to read all three, I would suggest the order I read them in, which would be main series, Age of the God Eater, the 1,000-year back, Annals of the God Eater, which is where the Hostain family is essentially turning on the angels, followed by Archive of the God Eater, which is the origin, if you will, of all of this. The reason I say that is, regardless of which one you read first, it is going to color your perception of the other books. With how the story progresses, how it ends, you have your own, you formed an opinion as to what is true and what is not true. You come into Deathless, book one of the Annals of the God Eater. That perspective from here informs how you react to the characters here. And again, having read these two, that will inform your perspective of the characters here. And again, I'm trying to be vague. I don't want to give spoilers. But if you read them in a different order, your entire perspective is going to shift, because you already know here how things have started. So you know here and here what's right and what's wrong, or at least you think you do, because obviously we don't know the full story yet, since there's 2 more books for each of these trilogies. I am curious if anybody has started with Demon or Deathless before Herald, how their perspective might be different from mine. I'm happy to talk about that in the comments, so that the video itself will be as spoiler-free as possible. Or heck, hit me up on my Facebook account and I'll make a post for the video. We can chat on there. There are also currently 2 short stories set in this universe. One is roughly 2 or 3 decades, I don't know, but it's set prior to Herald, but long after Deathless. The other set is set during or shortly thereafter events that happen in Herald. These short stories involve what Rob J. Hayes is calling the Terrors. Again, these are pieces of divinity or monsters or demons, however you want to look at them, but not necessarily angels or the god him or her itself. Those are quite short. They are digital only thus far. And through the Kickstarter, I got a message back because I had just commented I finished these and mentioned a game brought up in here, which is I'm assuming based on how I'm reading it, we'll call it a form of chess, but tied directly to their world as far as what type of creatures and pieces are used. There is going to be another short story coming out, but this is going to be tied in a short story collection or anthology with multiple different authors. I'm hoping that's one he'll also release later as a digital. So if people don't want to get the full anthology, they can get just the short story for this series. I'm hoping that we'll get a Kickstarter soon for the next ones, but I know he's still working on those. This one here is over 700 pages, and these are just shy of 200 each. Good stories. Again, my favorite type of story is where the villain is not one note. In fact, I'm not 100% sure if the villain of Herald is actually the villain, even after reading Deathless and Demon. I don't want to spoil my thought process on here. I am eager to see where these stories continue, to find out, especially with the backstories, if my understanding, if our main character's understanding, and if our antagonist's understanding of history of this world is accurate. But as far as these books go, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I'm going to give both of these a 3.5 out of 5. Because while these are entertaining stories on their own, honestly, I think that reading the entire series make these better. If you've just read these on their own, as entertaining as they are, I don't think the world building, or not the world building, I don't think the stories are as strong without Herald. But don't get me wrong, they're not bad stories, they're good. They're just short. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I will post some more as soon as I finish reading some more books. I'm currently reading the special bestiary edition of the Frith Chronicles by Shami Stovall. That is another big book, so don't expect a review of that anytime soon. But thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, morning, or day as you happen to be watching this.